The Cavaliers and Warriors matchups in the 2015 and 2016 NBA Finals were phenomenal for multiple reasons, as it featured many all-time great players on great teams, and they were interesting to watch, especially the great 3-1 comeback from Lebron and the Cavs in 2016. Unfortunately, the first series was partially tainted, as Kevin Love missed the entire series, and LeBron's sidekick in Kyrie only played the first game of the series, meaning LeBron essentially went up against the Warriors' Big Three by himself and still only lost 4-2. But the rivalry would be forever tainted in summer of 2016 after Kevin Durant joined the Warriors. In the next 9 finals games against the Cavaliers after joining them, the Warriors went 8-1 and were dominant. Now, people go back and forth, and they try to asterisk all of LeBron's rings like always, especially with his most recent one in LA, but I think it's dumb. In my opinion, at the end of the day, a ring is generally a ring, but then again, rings can also have more weight to it than normal. For example, you could have a ring like Dirk's ring against the Heat is more valuable than, let's say, KD's ring in 2017 or 2018. They bring up the fact that in 2016, Bogut, as their rim protector, got hurt for the Warriors, and then Draymond missed a game from a technical foul suspension, and Curry played through this series hurt. And then I see people clap back with the 2015 finals argument that supports LeBron, essentially saying that he played by himself against the Warriors because Kevin Love missed the entire series and Kyrie only played in the first game. But in my opinion, they don't clap back enough when it comes to their argument. In my opinion, and in the opinion of these statistics, it is a massive false equivalence to equate the Kyrie and K-Love injuries in the 2015 finals to the Bogut injury, the Draymond suspension, and the nerfed Curry injury, as essentially either missing K-Love for the entire series or missing Kyrie for the entire series, just one of those by themselves is a bigger impact than all 3 of those for the Warriors, as in Curry playing while injured, Draymond missing a game, and Bogut getting hurt. Kevin Love missing the series by himself, that's more of a factor than all 3 of those combined, let alone the Cavaliers having both of those at the same time. It is far more of a hampering on the Cavaliers that they did not have Kyrie or Kevin Love versus what the Warriors had, which of course did affect the Warriors, but not nearly as much. And in fact, I think there's enough evidence to go back that if these series were replayed at the time, with both teams, everything being the same, except that both teams were at 100% health for the whole series, it is more likely that the Cavaliers win both series. So I'm going to talk about injuries just as a whole in sports. In my opinion, they are a part of the game in sports, but it does suck and it does bring up what ifs. But the thing is that injuries are kind of almost all luck, as once you get to the point of professional sports, injury prevention, it's pretty much equated, which comes all down to luck, because the only really way to prevent injury is to train in the offseason, be in great shape. And everybody pretty much does that in the NBA or much all pro sports. So it's all equated, and then it's pretty much just all luck from there. It's unluck, or it's luck, or I guess it's fate, however you want to look at it. But so teams are in the majority out of control, and then you just come up with what-if scenarios. Now, I have been affected by injuries too, and when I played sports, I remember in 7th grade football. I know it's weird to compare 7th grade football to professional sports, but at the time, my team was undefeated, 5-0. Our fullback was leading the team. He was averaging 200 rushing yards a game. He was also starting at linebacker, and he was averaging like 14, 15 tackles a game. Then he broke his arm, and then we finished the season 9-2. We lost in the semifinals for the league championship. Our only 2 losses were to the league champion, as we played them in the regular season. That was the game where our fullback broke his arm in the first quarter, and then we lost like barely that game. Then when we played them in the semifinals, we again barely lost. Both times by less than 10 points. So we probably would have been undefeated and won the league title if it not for losing our star fullback and linebacker. But then again, it still counts. That team won the championship. We didn't. But you don't go back and take away the team that won the state championship, because it's not their fault that we were injured, and we don't earn a championship just because we were injured. So it's just kind of how I look at injuries. Like, yeah, they are interesting and cool, hypothetical, what-if scenarios, but you don't take away or gift state championships, because injuries are a part of the game. And that's kind of how I look at also the whole scenario here. Yeah, LeBron probably has an extra ring in this scenario, but then again, injuries are part of the game, and so we don't really do that. Because then, if you looked at injuries, you have to do it across the board. I believe even Jordan, I think he played the Lakers, and a key Lakers starter was injured. It would be so much work to equate it for everybody. So no, it's a chore. We don't do that. But I just wanted to look at this to compare that it's not it's a logical fallacy, a false equivalence to say that, oh, the Cavs and the Warriors, they swapped injuries in 2015 and 2016. So if you just swap it, Cavs win 2015, Warriors win 2016. But it's not the case at all. It's very different. So let's just look at it at a baseline. So in 2015, Kevin Love, who's the Cavaliers' third best player, he gets injured early in the playoffs and he missed the entire series. So the Cavaliers are down their third best player going into the finals. And then in game 1, Kyrie goes out and he misses essentially then 5 of the 6 games. So essentially, the Cavs are without their third best player for all 6 games, their second best player for 5 of 6 games. And now let's look at the Warriors. Andrew Bogut, he goes down in the 5th game, so he misses 2 games. But Bogut, maybe 5th most important player, maybe 4th most important player at best, so 4th or 5th most important player, he misses 2 games, okay? So that's already not even close of a comparison to Kyrie or Kevin Love. Then let's look at Draymond Green. He misses 1 game, but let's analyze that. Draymond didn't get hurt. Draymond got suspended. Draymond missed the game because of his own volition, because the way he plays, he's a trash talker. He racks up technical fouls. So it's not a equivalent thing at all to say that Draymond missed a game and that's therefore LeBron doesn't deserve a title. No, Draymond got suspended. It's his fault. He essentially chose to miss a game, whereas people don't choose to get injured. And again, this is the Warriors' third best player missing 1 game. He's only the 3rd most important player. So if you just look at those 2 comparisons, they're not even close to Kevin Love missing the entire series and Kyrie missing 5 of the 6 games, so the vast majority of the series. And if you do get even more down to it, people say, oh, but then also Steph Curry, the best player on the Warriors, which is inarguable in those 2 series, he was injured. And they bring up a stat comparison. Oh, he averaged 30 points per game on 50% shooting in the regular season. But in the NBA Finals, he only averaged 23 points per game on 41% shooting in the Finals. And that's because he got injured, and that this is true. He basically missed most of the first round, missed most of the second round, but then played in the Western Conference Finals and the NBA Finals. But this actually is not adding in the full context. Yes, Curry was hurt, and it did affect him, but that's not why the Warriors lost. In fact, this is more so showing how good the Cavaliers' defensive game plan was on Curry, rather than how injured Curry was in the NBA Finals. So, let's look at the comparisons here. So, sure, 23 points per game on 41% shooting compared to 30 on 50% shooting. It looks very different, but if you just compare the series right before the NBA Finals, the Western Conference Finals, Curry averaged 28 points per game on 45% shooting. While that's clearly less than his MVP numbers, it just doesn't show the full story yet again, as he's essentially playing 28 on 45 with even better 3-point shooting. That is 90% of his MVP level. So he's not playing at MVP level, but he's still playing at an all-NBA level. So essentially the Cavaliers took an all-NBA level Curry, he was still all-NBA level, all-star level, and dropped him down to not even at an all-star level, because 23% or 23 points per game on 41% shooting is not really all-star level stats, and definitely not all NBA level stats. But guys, Curry in the series before averaged 28 on 45. Then if you go back to the series before that against the Blazers, against Dame and CJ, Curry averaged 35 points per game on 50% shooting against the Blazers in the conference semifinals, while also averaging 7 rebounds and 10 assists per game. So if Curry can put up these numbers against Dame and CJ, numbers that are better than his MVP run during the regular season, and then he puts near MVP numbers in the conference finals, I think that simply excusing his performance in the NBA Finals against LeBron and the Cavs is just sucking up to Curry or just hating on LeBron. It was clearly the Cavs' defensive scheme that just shut Curry down even more. And this is further proven when you show that Klay Thompson also had his numbers drop from his playoff numbers and his regular season numbers despite being completely healthy. As if you compare his numbers, Klay in the regular season for 2015-16 averaged 22 points on 47% shooting, while in the finals he averaged 19 on 43%. Now, that's a big drop, 3 whole points on almost 5% less shooting. Then, if you look at the Western Conference Finals, he averaged 25, although he did shoot 42, which is almost just as bad, but he also shot 42% from 3, so he shot out of his mind from 3. But he only shot 35% from 3 in the finals. And then the conference semis, he did quite well. He averaged 31 on 50-50-94 splits. And then he did really good in the first round as he averaged 24 on 45-45-86 splits. So Klay was clearly at worst in the NBA Finals despite being healthy. He played well below his playoff averages as well as his regular season average. That makes me believe that it wasn't just Curry's injury that caused him to falter. It was more so the defensive schemes of the Cavaliers. And at what point do we look at injuries like this? An injury of completely missing a series is way worse than an injury where you're still playing at the majority of what your levels are. Now, like I already said, clearly Curry was not himself in the NBA Finals. But if you look at the Western Conference Finals, he was not that far off. 28 points on 45% shooting with good 3-point shooting versus in the regular season, 50% shooting on 30 points per. I think it really was just the defensive scheme. And then if you go back to the series before that, he shot out of his mind. 35 points per game on 50-50-94 splits? That's nuts. So if you really actually look at it, Curry in the Western Conference or semifinals, despite being injured, played better than his MVP numbers. But in the Western Conference, he took a dip. So you could even argue that Curry was almost completely fine because he played better in the Western Conference semis than the regular season, despite being injured. So that's what I'm saying here, is that this is just a massive false equivalence. You cannot compare whatsoever. Bogut missing 2 games, Draymond missing 1 on his own volition, it's his fault, and then Curry playing at 90% due to injury, and then just getting shut down, just like Klay got shut down. So it is a massive false equivalence. And then when you add that up, it makes it that while it is pretty decently likely that if you just replayed these series with both teams being 100% healthy, that the Cavs would win in 2015, but the Warriors would win in 2016. But it is still more likely that the Cavaliers win both, because of how much worse it was the Cavaliers had in 2015 versus what the Warriors had in 2016. And this also brings up another amazing point, and that is that the Cavaliers were not nearly as deep as the Warriors. Now that is a huge thing when it comes to injuries, which means the deeper you are, if you have an injury, it's going to have a less effect on your team. For example, if Draymond Green got hurt and missed the entire series, that would not be nearly as bad as Kevin Love getting hurt and missing the entire series, because the Warriors are a deeper team. So, therefore, injuries actually affect the Warriors less than the Cavaliers. So, if you look at it this way, it adds an even less of a factor that Bogut missed 2 games, that Draymond missed 1 of his own volition, and then Curry played at 90% of his regular level because of an injury. So it matters even much less, despite if you just look at those at face value, it's nothing compared to Kevin Love and Kyrie missing basically the entire series. And this is further proven how deep the Warriors are, as when KD gets hurt in the Western Conference Finals or semifinals in 2019, they still defeat the really good Houston Rockets without him. So the Warriors lose their best player, and they still defeat the Rockets. Then the Warriors, without Kevin Durant for an entire series, sweep Dame, CJ, and the Portland Trailblazers in the Western Conference Finals. And then they hold their own against the Raptors. They lose in 6, but you have to remember, Klay Thompson was also hurt. I think he missed 2 games. So that's how deep the Warriors were throughout their run. So injuries meant way less to them. Whereas if the Cavaliers lose LeBron for an entire series, they're not doing anything. But the Warriors lose KD, they still sweep the Blazers, they beat the Rockets. Yeah. So the Warriors, since they're so deep, injuries affect them less. But because the Cavaliers were top heavy, injuries affect them more. So it is a massive false equivalence to say that the Warriors' injuries versus the Cavaliers' injuries equate, and so you could just swap the finals anyways. No, based on these statistics, it is more likely that the Cavaliers win both finals than the Warriors. But that's just my opinion, and, well, it's not just my opinion, the stats pretty much also back it up. But I want to know what you guys think down below. Out of the 2015 or 2016 finals, which were your favorite? Of course, I would say 2016. They were more interesting. There was way less injuries, and when the injuries happened, it was Bogut, who really isn't a star. So you had all the all-stars, the superstars playing, and then Draymond got suspended as his own fault, and then Curry was still a decent player. Of course, he just got shut down. The numbers show that Curry was shut down, not that he played like shit because he was injured. Because if you just, like I said, go back one series, he averaged 28 points per game on 45%. Go back another series, he played better. He averaged better numbers than his MVP regular season. So that is why it is a massive logical fallacy. It's the ultimate false equivalence to say that the Warriors and Cavaliers just swapped injuries in 2015 and 2016, and therefore they swapped titles, and that it's essentially a logical fallacy to say that the Cavaliers deserve the 2015 finals, but they don't deserve the 2016 finals. The numbers don't agree with that notion. But, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.